Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Be Brave podcast mini minute series with me, your host, Grace. In today's mini episode, we are going to discuss ways to cope with emotions without resorting to eating disorder behaviors. Other coping strategies and helpful tips can be found on my TikTok and Instagram, which are both linked in the show notes. When struggling with an eating disorder, it can become habit to fall back on disordered behaviors when emotions or difficult situations arise. Whether you're still struggling with an eating disorder, working towards recovery, or even well into your recovery journey, being aware of the tendency to fall back on disordered behaviors is always really important. Sometimes, eating disorders try to subtly sneak back in as a means of coping. If this is or has been the case for you, I want you to remind yourself that you didn't choose this. You are not choosing to have an eating disorder thought, nor are you choosing to have the urge to act in a possibly harmful way. But you can choose to acknowledge those thoughts and then employ a more positive coping mechanism instead. I'd like to add a quick side note. I've been putting off recording all day because one of the neighborhood dogs just will not stop barking, and they still haven't stopped. So I'm recording anyways, but I hope that you can't hear the dog. Now, something that annoyed me quite a bit when I was struggling with my eating disorder was that people often tell you things like, oh, you have to use positive coping strategies, or just try to use more self-care. And these terms become so elusive. Like, what are positive coping strategies? How am I meant to know how to do it if you don't actually tell me what it is? For some people, maybe it's been modeled to you early on in life, but for some people, you just don't know. And so when someone tells you, oh yeah, just use positive coping strategies instead, you're like, well, what does that even mean? And so I don't want to leave you guys hanging on a thread and just tell you, oh, use positive coping strategies. I want to give you a few ideas. So I'll go through a few emotions and give you some ideas of what might work for you. And if it doesn't, that's totally fine, but some ideas of what could be helpful. If you find that you're feeling particularly stressed, instead of using eating disorder behaviors or falling back on those familiar, possibly harmful behaviors, a couple of alternative strategies you could use are listening to a guided meditation to calm you down and help you ground yourself. You could listen to calming music to help you start to relax. You could lie with your feet or legs up the wall. I don't know exactly why, but this is just really relaxing. You could write a brain dump and just let everything out. This really helps me to just get everything out of my head so it feels less busy. Or you could talk to someone about what's making you feel stressed. That way you guys can problem solve together. And I know it sounds cliche, but I really feel like a problem shared is a problem halved. If you find yourself feeling angry, a few things that you could do instead of falling back on those harmful behaviors are spending some time alone. You could try singing to really loud music, use breathing exercises just to slow your heart rate, bring you back into your body. You could go get some fresh air, or if you're feeling angry or frustrated with someone in particular, once you've both cooled down, you could try having a restorative conversation. If you find yourself feeling quite anxious, a few things that you could do are journaling. You could cuddle a pet or a stuffed animal. You could have a warm, calming cup of tea. You could go outside to clear your mind so that you're a bit distracted by nature around you, and I find that fresh air always helps calm me down. Or you could ground yourself using mindfulness techniques like box breathing, mindful coloring, things like that. Lastly, if you find yourself feeling sad, a few things that you could do instead of using harmful behaviors are watching a comforting TV show. I don't know about you guys, but I think my two favorite TV shows would be Friends. I think I've watched the whole series at least 5 times over, and Grey's Anatomy. I haven't watched it all yet because there are so many seasons, but I love both of those shows. Another thing you could do is just cry and let it out. I don't know the exact science behind it, but crying does release certain endorphins or chemicals or hormones or something, and it does actually make you feel better. It's not just what people are saying. You could also call a friend or a family member. You could remind yourself that this feeling will pass. It's not forever. Sometimes when we feel sad, it's really easy to start feeling hopeless and a sense of despair. But if we remind ourselves that emotions come in waves and that right now we might be at the top of the wave, so when it comes back down, this feeling will dissipate. Lastly, you could try doing an activity that brings you some joy. This could be drawing, playing the piano, reading, colouring, dancing, whatever it is that brings you joy. Whilst there are definitely so many coping strategies out there, I hope that this short list has given you a few ideas of things that you can do when you're feeling particularly heightened emotions or you've just come out of a difficult situation. So, next time you find yourself in a state where you need something to cope, I hope you can try using some of these techniques. Don't forget that you are strong, you are enough, you are so brave, and you are worthy of finding coping strategies that make you feel good. Until next time, keep being brave.